We often assume that to speak with authority on global topics like career, leadership, personal growth, you need to have studied or lived abroad. But sometimes the deepest insight comes from those who stays rooted while thinking far beyond borders.
So being authentic and being openness is number one to get people to really open up with whatever you are saying next. That's how our brain works, why you are doing what you are doing.
Hey, this is May Holland from Mosaic Mind. Welcome. We often assume that to speak with authority on global topics like career, leadership, personal growth, you need to have studied or lived abroad. But sometimes the deepest insight comes from those who stays rooted while thinking far beyond borders. Today on Mosaic Mind, we meet Adele Doan, creator, storyteller, and one of Vietnam's most powerful voices online. Without ever studying overseas, Adele has built a platform that reaches tens of thousands, grounded in radical authenticity and a bold reimagining of Vietnamese leadership. From Saigon to your headphones, this is a story about voice, vision, and what it means to lead from where you stand. Adele, welcome. Welcome to our conversation on Mosaic Mind. And I believe that you are today in Hoi An.
Yes, definitely. I'm living here in Hoi An for almost a month now. This is my first destination of my career, my digital nomad journey. And thank you, Shimi, for having me in this podcast.
I can't wait to hear from you. Last time we met was just a few weeks ago. We were sharing the same platform for conference speaking in Ho Chi Minh City for creators as well. And I've been listening to your podcast and your TEDx talk. So I just can't wait to delve in and talk with you more. And then you can share your insight with the people who are listening to your podcast today. So really, a lot of people know about you in Vietnam. And I really want to start from the beginning. So can you tell us more about what shaped your early sense of identity? Because you said before that you become an influencer by simply being yourself. That is quite bold and rare. And I really want to understand more. What does it mean to you? What did it look like in the early days when you started? What does it mean for you and that sense of identity?
I think I started posting and create content online really early in my career. I was working as a headhunter in Vietnam, so my content mostly about recruitment, human resource, and everything. And then I think the turning point of that is when I quit my job as a headhunter and start my little business. It's called Sen Vago, small Japanese ceramic shop in Saigon. So that's my first venture. It's really small. I do everything by myself. And because I'm doing everything by myself, so I supposed to be responsible for create content and find a customer through social media. And that's how I started my, content creation journey. And I simply just share about what I do every day as a small little shop owner, write content about ceramics and how to run a like small business like that. And I have I have a really big love for Japanese ceramics. So that's why it's one of my passion as well. And just simply sharing what I do every day on the shop fan page, and that's how I have my customer. I don't have money to running ads, or I don't have money to to put a lot of marketing campaign. Just simply share content about the shop and about my life, and it helps the shop running for 1.5 years. And then after that, I back to Hanoi to start my first leadership role as a business manager at one headhunting agency. And also, creating content is a way for me to get clients, to get candidates. And then I would say that fast forward, my career rely heavily on my social presence and also my contents. That's how I network, how I find partner, how I find clients, how I promote for everything that I do. When you have to do something for a long, long time, for me, it's more than 5 years already. And I come to realize that the only way to do that consistently and for a long time is just be really honest and authentic on whatever you are doing, because you cannot fake for a long time. You can fake your content or try to be someone else for a few months, but if you do that, consider doing that for like 5 years, 10 years, it's really hard to keep up with all the
I
the pictures or
agree.
the vision that you try to create, which is not yourself.
So when you talk about authenticity, and I love what you're bringing up here, what risk did you take to stay authentic? Because, you're talking about, 5 years here. What risk did you really take to stay authentic when the market is full of creators? What was that?
The pro is, yes, you don't have to be someone else. It's feel really easy to just like speak your mind. But the cons of being authentic is sometimes you cannot go viral all the time. It's just like you being yourself. And maybe that version of yourself or that kind of like idea is not the thing that everyone is maybe agree with. It's not something that everyone would be interested in, or it's not controversial enough to go viral. Let's just say that. So being authentic on my content, I have to compromise with the fact that maybe I don't have to go, or I couldn't go viral all the time. So that's a cons of being authentic in your content. But the risk here is some people will consider is a risk is you truly be yourself, and you will have people that see you as yourself, and then people that know a lot about you. And it's kind of risky in some way that you reveal a lot of information about yourself online and people know you so well. And maybe some people can use that information against you and sometimes. Because in order to be authentic, you have to tell the real story. And you have to tell your story in really details. And that somehow that people get too much information that can go against you sometimes. But I consider it's the two side of the problem. So rather than that, I just decided to be authentic in everything that I do. I think the pro and the advantage of that is outweigh the disadvantage or the cons of being authentic.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm following you. I love you sharing. And I think that, when I was looking into your LinkedIn, you have grown a LinkedIn, your profile, you have about over 80,000 followers. So you're obviously a LinkedIn influencer. And I was wondering about, your guiding philosophy when it comes to influence. So you talk about authenticity. What more comes to mind for you to have such a big presence in that space of leadership? Can you tell us a bit more?
My let's say my philosophy about influence people. I really think deeply about that topic. I did study about how to influence people and how people influence me as well. I consider myself as someone that also go around and talk to a lot of people and to see how people, some can have a really big impact on me, some even have a big title, but they don't have any kind of influence on me. Um, First of all, being authentic is the number one way, because when you be authentic with whatever you are doing, you kind of open yourself to that person, and that person will feel safe and secure that, okay, maybe she's telling the truth, whatever truth it is, but I know that she being honest what she say, so I feel safe and I kind of feel open up to whatever she's saying. So being authentic and being openness is number one to get people to really open up with whatever you are saying next. Because if people like close their mind and people have some whatever doubt about what you are doing, like, oh my, I see something that's not authentic here, and maybe she have a different agenda, and people will close their mind. They would not listen or read whatever you are writing. Step number two, I think our mind is really wonderful things. I think that like even right now we don't have any technology that can recreate human brain. So our mind is really special. And one thing that I realize and understand about how brain work is our brain will be pursued if they get enough information in details. So let's say I can go out and tell everyone, every young professional that, okay, you should go to sleep early or you should do exercise. And no one would ever follow that advice because, they are not persuaded. But if I spend 20 minutes explain in every detail for them why we should exercise and what is a scientific fact behind that and what is a real example of that, people don't go exercise and they lose their muscle like over the year, like 10% over the year. If I spend like 20 minutes explain in a very logical way and in a really detail, and I think a lot of people would be pursued by the idea of, okay, you better go exercise if you want to live longer or spend more time with our beloved one. So there's a secret number two is try to explain everything in a really logical way and a really detailed. That's how our brain works. And if people read a long article about why we should exercise or why we sleep, they somehow will be convinced rather than just read saying online from random people say, hey, you should go to sleep early or you should spend at least like 7 hours for your sleep. It doesn't work that way. So I think that's the two key components of how to persuade people. And I think the last component is about why you are doing what you are doing. So if you can show people that you come with a good intention, with a good cause, and it's just what you are doing is good for them, and no hidden agenda, and people will some sort of like influence about.
That sounds like three very good advice. Thanks very much. So it sounds like you're not just talking about work, and you often advise professionals not to just talk about work. What do you encourage them to share instead?
Are we talking about LinkedIn in
Yeah, yeah,
specific?
yeah.
I think I used to post like only work related topic on my LinkedIn. And over the time, I think when I getting older and especially when I reach my 30 years old, I feel like and I come to a realization that work is not the only thing and work is definitely not the most important things in our life. And I think, families, relationship, connection, and other thing also more important, especially our health and our well-being is also important. So I used to be like workaholic people and like work come first and everything come later. But right now I reached to a stage that I think I try to balance everything, work and live at the same time and enjoy my life at the same time. So I think for LinkedIn, yes, it should be the professional network, so we don't share something really intimidate or like personal about our personal life. That should keep between like friends and families and close network. Other thing is fine on LinkedIn. Like I share about my decision of moving to Hoi An. It's also a bit personal, but I believe that someone would get inspired about that and learn about that. And a lot of people, they are living in the big city, they might curious about what is a nomad life, or what is a life living in a small town like Hoi An. So I think those kind of things still suitable and suitable with LinkedIn. So I just don't share something that really personal, um, or in like really intimacy on LinkedIn because it's not it's not suitable for this platform. Other than that, everything it should be you should feel free to share about that.
Yeah, I'm hearing you here. When you're talking about life, when you're talking about well-being, sense of balance, I'm absolutely with you on that one. And believe me, I'm much, much older than you, but I totally admire you for the having that insight so young. I have been a workaholic for quite a while, but I really hear you. And I really want your message, to be out there, for the people of your age, your generation, to hear you as well. For people who don't know, Hoi An is a marvelous, gorgeous little town, in the center of Vietnam, very cultural. It's a UNESCO site. It's very charming town, where you have really the spiritual place to recenter yourself, even if it's in the center of Vietnam as well. So you have talked about LinkedIn. I agree. You don't talk about kids. This or baby. And on LinkedIn. But there's also another way that you are also reaching out to a public, a bigger audience. So you are hosting podcast as well, and like many podcasts. I think like more than hundreds. Can you tell us more about how has podcasting shape your growth, your own evolution, personally and professionally? What has those experience of podcasting helped you, to shape the person that you are today?
I think I try every social platform, like social media platform and any every type content, and I come to conclusion that I only love a few form of content, and then each form of content they give me a different feeling and inspiration when doing that. So I have tried written content, you write a text, like text only post on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and any other platform. I have tried creating a video, even though I still feel really cringe when doing that. But it's fine. Yeah, I had to try it out. Recently, I tried a long form content. I just opened my new blog. It's called Deep Work, a Deep Grow with Adele. I just post my first blog. It's like 4,000 words, and it's also helped me to grow a lot from that blog because I feel like our brain need more long form content, more in depth content. So we have enough of short form content, like TikTok reels, Instagram reels. It just doesn't do any good with our brain and our professional growth. And I try long form content. I think it really works. My attention spans is getting longer than before. I can read the whole article for like 30 minutes is fine. In the past, I couldn't do that. I really impatient with like reading content or like long article online. So that's why I love doing this. And the former podcast is also the former content that I love a lot because I love talking to people. I love having a conversation with people, like interesting people like you, and I love to express my idea through the voice, through the conversation. So I started that because sometimes I just too lazy to write, and I want to express my
Lazy.
my idea quickly. And and the second reason is sometimes I need to practice my speaking skills. So talking for a long time, so like for 30 minutes is, and then try to structure the idea also help me with my like public speaking skills. That's most of it. And the spark of doing podcasts is you have really high quality audience. People who listen to podcasts most of the time, I think they are kind of like well educated. They choose as a form of consume content rather than a short form video content. So I think my podcast audience is really high educated, and I think I enjoy being with them. We create some sort of like community whenever like people come up to me and say, "Hey, I listen to your podcast," and I can know for sure that okay, there's something interesting about that person because not many people listen to podcasts, and not many people are like patient enough to listen to a 30 minutes podcast. Yeah. Long story short, that is just my podcasting is one of my favorite way of creating content online.
I know, I can feel it. I can feel it. You have done so much, Adele, and I really want to know how do you maintain that energy and that freshness, after so many episodes, where is your energy coming from?
I wrote a post on my blog about dopamine. So I used to think that I have a lot of energy and a lot of motivation to do things. But when I started research and study about the scientific things behind how our brain work, how our body work, so I think the energy also come from the mind and the body. So you have to, eat well. You have to eat a good food to provide enough energy for your body to able to function and to work and to be creative and do a lot of things at the same time. And second source of energy come from our brain. So our brain is really special thing that decide whether you want to do things or not. And in our brain, there's a thing, there's a term is called dopamine. So dopamine is really a scientific term, but I think you can search about that online. And I started study about dopamine, and I realized that we can increase our dopamine level by a lot of ways. So whenever I come to a thing, instead of thinking that I have to do this. It sounds like a job, it sounds like a work. But if you can switch your mindset into I love doing this because it's a journey and I love to see the reward after this. And it doesn't sound like a job anymore. It doesn't sound like something you have to do. And that's how you can, increase your dopamine level. So you can increase your dopamine level by simply just change the way that you think about something. So if I have come to a challenge in my work and I have to and my first thinking is it's hard, it's tough, and I have to resolve that problem. My dopamine level gonna be really real low at that time. But if I can switch it a little bit and change it to, oh, I have come across a challenge in my work, and this is in one way for me to learn faster, and this is the sign for me to know that I'm heading in the right way, and then I became a better version of myself and become better. So my dopamine level is like increased because I have been rewarded that this is a signal for me that I am moving up, that I level up myself and then become a better version. So it's really interesting things by just changing the way you're seeing things that really can increase your motivation and give you more energy to do more things in life.
Yeah, the small rewards actually motivates you, don't they? And it's very
Yeah.
sustainable as well. Yeah. I absolutely love the sharing. Like after this podcast, we can chat more because I study neuroscience. I love it. This is so nice. But I think it's so important, what you just said about understanding the chemicals of the brain. Then you can influence them, how you're thinking, the quality of your emotions, the quality of the food, the quality of the environment. Now you're moving to Hoi An, which is a magnificent place to be a digital nomad. It will obviously, refresh your mind and makes you more motivated to do whatever you want. And I really want to ask you a question here on your digital nomad life. How was your transition moving from Ho Chi Minh City, which is full on, a lot of things are happening fast, meet up with people, it's everywhere, cafes, and the scene is extravagant. How is it? What was the trigger for you to move from a very active city of 13 million people like in Ho Chi Minh City to tiny, 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 cute, charming Hoi An?
I think I spent almost 8 years in Ho Chi Minh City. I have built a career there and have built all my network and friendship there. And it reached to the point that I think is enough. And also, there's something about my previous work that led me to the point that I really want to do this for myself. And for a long time, I really want to travel, and to travel not just in the way of like short-term travel, like few days and back to work. And I really want to my traveling style is I want to stay at that place for a bit of time and like gradually getting to know the people there. Like every day if I go to a new coffee, that's a new discovery for me already. So I don't want to rush my time in one place, and then I truly want to get to know people there. And if you want to get to know people there, you have to live there for a while, not just like few days. It's never be enough. So that's why I think there's a lot of reason that triggered to the point that I decided, like just after a week, I decided I want to be digital nomad and I want to live in like far away from Saigon. moved to places after like few months. And I, when I review that decision of mine, I think since I grow up, I always want to have autonomy in my work, in my life, and I want to have freedom at all levels. And so the digital nomad life give you a lot of freedom of like travel, living place to place. Think being a digital nomad and living a really different life than my normal office like professional girl is something I want to do for myself, and I hope that it's gonna change me a lot. Cause I'm in at I'm in a new place with like totally a new network and new people, and I try to figure things by myself and try to experience everything. And I know that that kind of setup will be the good environment for me to really discover something about myself. Because if I only live and I continue living in Saigon and hang out with like the same network, the same people, and doing the same work, I might not really like fully understand myself. So I have to put myself in a totally different environment. So that's why.
I love it. So you're really talking about growing, understanding yourself, moving forward in a new environment, obviously, so then you can really understand yourself more. So which is absolutely beautiful. And because you're much younger than me, you're much closer to the young generation in Vietnam and the youth. I was just wondering, what do Vietnamese youth do you think really value differently, about leadership compared to older generation like mine? What do you think that the Vietnamese youth are really different, about leadership? What does it mean for them, compared to what you think that the my generations
Maybe I
is?
want to hear what you think about leadership first, and then maybe I will
Oh
give
my
you
God,
the perspective of what
this is
like
about you.
younger people think. Yes.
But I know what saying, but, in my case, I think that, I have challenged a lot of, the system of values of leadership, where which I was, learning, in the USA when I did my MBA long time ago. The values were very different, but I think that I have unlearned a lot since I've been working more in Vietnam. And I think that that really teach me that richness, that humility that, we have in the youth and the culture in Vietnam. Moving forward, driven by optimism, this is what I see, but I really want to hear from you because, like, I wish my generation was really focusing on sustainability and all those core values which should be shared by everyone, like a human-centric leadership. But long time ago, that wasn't such a case. So I'm really wondering about you. What do you think about that? The values for you when you are talking with the youth. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for that young generation? What does it mean for you?
I think first of all, I have to, we have to agree that leadership and management are two totally different things, right? So management is about how to get the people to do the work efficiently, but leadership is like about inspiration, motivation, and everything. Just recently, I listened to a podcast. It's called Spiral, I guess. The series name làm giàu theo cách cụ Hồ. So it's like the lesson learned from our great, Ho Chi Minh, and how he lead and inspire, and how he lead like the whole country to achieve what we want, which is a freedom. And I think the lesson here is really simple. Like leadership only happen when you can tell people the big why they have to do what they are doing, or why they should do what they are planning to do. And for my first 4 and 5 years in my career, I don't think that people think that really important. People just like manage people and forget to tell the employee, okay, why you should do this and why you should do that. But the new and the young generation here, they really care about the why. And sometimes the company and the employer or the manager cannot tell them why they should do this, why is important to do this job, because money is not the big issue, especially with the young generation. They have enough money, at least they have the support from their parents. So they don't have to work for much as money. And they really care about why. And that's why a lot of like young people, they quit their job and they are on the way to find their why, because it's really important for them to know what they are heading at.
I'm May Holland, your host for Mosaic Mind. Welcome back. Welcome back, Adele. We had some technical issues, but everything is cool. So this is the challenges of being a digital nomad for both of us. So my question, because I know that you are going to travel a lot, you're going to come down and chase afterwards a turtle, eggs and everything. What's next for you? What's next for Adele beyond LinkedIn, beyond your nomad living by the coast of Hoi An and Danang?
Mm. I think this year's for me beyond what I have done in the past. I think I chose to solve a bigger problem. For the past 1 year in my community, LinkedIn Blue Ocean, the problem I'm trying to solve is helping people to build up their LinkedIn profile, to create content on LinkedIn, and have more followers and likes, right? And that problem already been solved by all the guidelines, all the roadmap, and everything that I create for the community. And I kind of get bored of that because that problem pretty small. And I think myself and my community also have to grow up. And then I choose a new problem to solve, which is really challenging. That is, I'm trying to help people to get more jobs on LinkedIn. When I'm talking about job, it could be a full-time job, a part-time job, like a side job, gig job, or whatever. Anything that you do the work and you get money, for me, considering a job. So I'm trying to help members in my community to get more job from LinkedIn. And I feel really passionate and happy that I come up with that decision, because I just imagine if I could help a professional to have to find a new job or to get a side job for themselves, and they can get more money and they have more money to support themselves, their families, their parents, their children, and that really make me happy. And I think considering there's a lot of changes in our ecosystem and also in our labor market right now, everyone is really struggling to find a job and make money. And I think that is my next challenge and that is my next mission, trying to help professionals in Vietnam to have more job for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so inspired because you have so many point of interest and now you're focusing on something which is, very driven for the community so then they can see meanings, in being into that community on LinkedIn. So you live with intention, you live with purpose, you're crafting identity and your influence as well. And your leadership journey is a mosaic. And you know that the podcast is called Mosaic Mind. So that journey of mosaic made up of fragment of identity, stories, mistake, choice, intention. What is the glue for you that holds your mosaic mind together?
The goal for me to connect all together, I think it's kindness. I think there's not enough, people talking about that. But I think in this kind of time that we should talk about kindness more. Whenever I do with kindness, and I think it's the thing that we should embrace and we should talk more and we should looking more from our community and our society in general. So if you do business with kindness, we'll think about the customer. What about client? Is this gonna help them to solve the problem? If you do business with kindness, you will think your employee, that am I, supporting them enough? Am I having enough resources for them to grow? And I help them to work in a happy environment and support their family. And when I think about kindness in our community, I really wish that, my new mission and a new plan for my community can help people like within the community to connect with each other and help each other more instead of only me having giving out help and support other. And I think through my journey, I did receive a lot of help and support. And I feel like kindness is something can help us to get through the tough time.
I love what you just shared. You make me really think about my time in Australia, and that was a movement we call the word kindness movement. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's about, bringing kindness to the workplace. You are connected with kindness. You don't connect with people through fear or through toxicity. So I really like that you're ending the chat today on a very, very positive mode, and really, really nice. So today we talk about so many things about neuroscience, about your community, about your LinkedIn community, about your next intention, about helping people to get jobs. We talked about, the transition, go to digital nomading and that freedom that you're having into a creativity. And I think we can really feel it. So Adele, thank you today. Um, voice is good. Your presence is grounded. You have a beautiful smile and inspire people with kindness. Your message speaks really directly to a new generation of leaders. So not just Vietnam, but globally. So to our listeners, if you connect well with this episode and the lens that we bring on women, leadership and identity, please subscribe to Mosaic Mind because there's so much more to come. So I'm Mi Holland, your host. Thanks for listening. And you can connect with Adele. We're going to share all her details on the text below. In the meantime, Adele, I don't know if we see you in Ho Giang and Da Nang or in Ho Chi Minh City or Kong Dao, but I wish you the best. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Bye.
Bye bye.